In the year 1858, in a quiet little village called Lourdes, resting at the foot of the Pyrenees in France, life was hard. The people lived in poverty, struggling with daily needs. No one there could have imagined that something extraordinary was about to happen, something that would change this village forever, and be remembered all over the world. The story centers on a young girl named Bernadette Soubirous. She was only 14, fragile in health, often sick, and with little education. Nothing about her seemed remarkable. And yet, it was within her simple and humble heart that God chose to reveal a great gift. On February 11, 1858, the cold winter air cut sharply against the skin. Bernadette went with her sister Marie Antoinette and her friend Jean Abadie to collect firewood along the Gave River. While the others crossed a small stream to the Massabielle Grotto, Bernadette stayed behind. And in that quiet moment, something wondrous took place. She heard a sound, like the rush of wind. But strangely, not a single branch around her moved. She lifted her eyes toward the dark grotto and suddenly saw a brilliant light. And there, within the light, appeared a lady of breathtaking beauty. She was dressed in pure white, with a shining ribbon at her waist and golden roses upon her feet. In her hands was a radiant rosary. Bernadette stood frozen, her heart pounding. She rubbed her eyes, shut them tight, then opened them again, but the vision was still there. The lady smiled gently, as if to reassure her, "Do not be afraid," and in that moment, a sacred journey began. After that first encounter, Bernadette thought perhaps she had only dreamed it. She tried to keep the strange vision to herself, but the secret quickly slipped out. Her younger sister could not hold it in. Even her mother doubted her and scolded her. Yet deep in her heart, Bernadette knew what she had seen was real. 3 days later, Bernadette returned to the grotto at Massabielle, this time carrying a small bottle of holy water. Trembling inside, she thought to herself, "If this is from God, the lady will remain. If not, she will vanish." But when Bernadette sprinkled the holy water, the lady did not move. She stood there, serene and smiling. Overcome, Bernadette fell to her knees, took up her rosary, and began to pray. At that moment, she felt a peace so deep, a comfort so gentle, unlike anything she had ever known before. Then, on February 18, 1858, something extraordinary happened. For the very first time, the lady spoke. Her voice was clear, tender, yet filled with authority, echoing in Bernadette's heart, "I want you to return here every day for 15 days. Tell the priests that I desire a church to be built in this place." For Bernadette, it was a call beyond imagination. She was just a poor, uneducated girl, yet now entrusted with a message from heaven itself. Before she disappeared, the lady added one more promise: "I do not promise you happiness in this life, but in the life to come." Bernadette was left speechless, every word engraved deep within her soul. On February 24th, Bernadette knelt before the grotto at Massabielle. The lady appeared, her eyes filled with tender love, and spoke, "Pray and do penance for sinners." That invitation was etched deeply into the young girl's heart. And the very next day, a great sign was revealed. On February 25th, the lady motioned for Bernadette to come closer. She pointed to the muddy ground at the foot of the grotto. Bernadette obeyed, digging with her hands in the dirt. The first time, the second time, the third time, only mud and cloudy water appeared. But on the fourth attempt, she managed to sip a small mouthful. The onlookers laughed, thinking it nothing more than a foolish act. Yet soon after, from the very spot where Bernadette had dug, a stream of clear water began to flow. Day by day, it grew stronger, never running dry. News spread quickly throughout the village and beyond. The sick were brought to the spring. The lame began to walk again, their motionless legs stirred to life. The blind washed their eyes in the clear water, and light returned after years of darkness. Those long burdened by illness touched the water and felt their strength return in ways no one could explain. Doctors came to observe, searching for answers. But before them were cases that defied all medical reasoning. Faith began to blaze like fire. The little spring at Massabielle had become a fountain of healing, drawing pilgrims in great numbers, hearts thirsting for grace and new life. On March 25, 1858, Bernadette knelt once more at the grotto of Massabielle, her hands trembling as she prayed the rosary bead by bead. After so many apparitions, she still found the courage to ask again, "Please, lady, tell me your name." Each time before, the lady had only smiled in silence. But on that day, the feast of the Annunciation, she finally answered. The lady opened her arms wide, her eyes lifted toward heaven, her face radiant with dazzling light. Then, in a voice both clear and majestic, she declared, "I am the Immaculate Conception." Bernadette was stunned. She was an uneducated girl, unable even to read or write, and had never heard such words before. She could not grasp their meaning, but the phrase burned within her heart like a holy flame. Immediately after the vision, Bernadette ran to the parish church and repeated the words exactly to Father Péramel. The priest was shaken, his eyes filled with tears. Only 4 years earlier, the Catholic Church had solemnly proclaimed the dogma of the Immaculate Conception. How could a poor, simple child have spoken such profound truth unless it was truly the Virgin Mary who had appeared to her? The news spread quickly, stirring all of Lourdes. The lady's revelation confirmed everything. She was the Mother of God, pure and without stain of original sin. From that moment on, the apparitions were no longer whispers of mystery, but a shining testimony, a message sent from heaven itself. The crowds continued to flock to Massabielle every day, eager to witness a sign. One day, as Bernadette knelt in prayer, all eyes turned toward her. A candle burned brightly in her hand, the flame stretching and licking along her frail fingers. Amazingly, her skin remained untouched, no burns, no fear. Her face shone, lost in a rapture, her lips quietly whispering the prayers of the Rosary. The entire crowd fell silent, shivering before the miracle. The earthly flame had touched a human body, yet the power of heaven shielded her, transforming it into a radiant sign of faith. Then, on July 16, 1858, Bernadette returned to the banks of the Gave River. The Massabielle Grotto was now blocked by an iron fence. She knelt from a distance, her heart heavy with longing. In that very moment, the lady appeared brilliant, more near and dear than ever. The light from her pierced every barrier, erased all distance, and carried Bernadette into a boundless ocean of peace. This time, there were no words. Only a gentle smile, a loving gaze filled with eternity. It was a silent farewell, profound and tender, stirring both a deep sorrow and an undying hope in the girl's heart, that the mother was always there, embracing the world in her loving arms. When the lady vanished, the wind still blew softly, the river still flowed, yet within Bernadette's heart, a new world had opened, a world of faith, of light, and of hope that would never fade. After the final apparition, Bernadette returned to her quiet, everyday life. Yet what had happened at the Grotto of Massabielle was no longer hers alone. News spread quickly, and people from far and wide poured into Lourdes, bringing with them sickness, suffering, and heartfelt prayers. At the very spot where Bernadette had once dug in the earth for a single drop of water, a clear spring now flowed, a miraculous source of healing. Countless patients, in both body and soul, found comfort and renewal in its grace. After many years of careful investigation, the church recognized the authenticity of the apparitions. On that very site, a magnificent basilica was built, its towering spires reaching like a bridge between earth and heaven. Bernadette, the poor, humble girl, quietly entered religious life, living with humility until her death at the age of 35, leaving behind an eternal testimony of a simple heart chosen by the Mother. Over a century and a half has passed, yet Lourdes still welcomes millions of pilgrims every year. Limping travelers, the sick, and despairing hearts come to the sacred waters, leaving with renewed hope. It is not only a miracle of the body, but a deep healing of the soul. This story reminds humanity that even amid the darkness of suffering, a guiding light remains. The Virgin Mary does not promise fleeting happiness in this life, but opens the door to eternal joy in the love of God. And to this day, at the Grotto of Massabielle, the light of the Mother shines brightly, a gentle message still whispered to all. I do not promise you happiness in this life, but in the life to come. If you want to continue experiencing the miraculous stories of the Virgin Mary, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. And if Mary has brought a special miracle into your own life, don't hesitate to share your story with us in the comments. We can spread faith, hope, and the love of God together.